You're listening to Apostates of the Fridge. We're brought to you by Atheist Society of Knoxville, and we're your host. I'm Alistair.
I'm Dustin.
And I'm Sam.
What you drinking?
Man, this is a piece of shit. I was so excited because I saw this can.
I'm glad we're not actually sponsored.
We're not going to get any sponsors because of me, you guys, solely because of me. So it's Southern Grist Brewing Company, and I initially was going to pass because of how costly it is for just 4 beers.
I liked mine last time, but it was costly.
Yeah, but they're not high gravity. It's only 6%.
Yeah,
but I saw blueberry banana pancake, and I'm like, let's give it a shot.
It's horrible.
It's tart as shit. I'll let you try it. It is awful. Not only does it taste awful initially, but then the aftertaste is even twice
like
as bad.
a warhead, like a blue warhead or
No, because
something?
blue warheads are fucking
I like
good.
those.
Yeah, I
Okay.
like those. I enjoy those. This is like, I don't know, camel piss. Like, I don't know what that. It's awful. So hard pass. Like, I'm only gonna drink one of these, and barely. I got my seltzer as a backup because I'm not dealing with the rest of this bullshit. Like, I'm donating that shit to charity because that's fucking awful.
It's a charity beer.
It's bad. Like, it's just never again on that one. Like, I need to stick with my tried and true, but I'm trying to try new things. Things, you know.
I try new things too, but
you've had better luck. I was like, once I saw the bright cream as it's like a violet color from this beer. Like, I knew I had a feeling this was going to be just garbage. Can confirm. Sam, what you got?
I've got the White Tie Westbrook. Trying to see where it's from, but it's a wheat beer. It's a pretty standard wheat beer. Tastes like a wheat beer. Got that as my 5% because I went back to an oldie but a goodie, the Eye of the Beholden, and that's a 10%. So if I get slurry in the second half, you know why.
Was the Eye of the Beholden the one that had the like you had one of their shirts or something that had, or was that the other one?
They work with a brewery in town. This isn't from that brewery. This is the tiramisu, cocoa hints, and vanilla beer.
Okay.
It is very complicated, but
Is it good?
it's great. That's why this is my second time having it on the show. But easing my way into the waters with this nice wheat beer.
This will take me the entire episode to get through because of how garbage it is. I'm not gonna lie.
It's horrible. It's really fucking bad.
But I don't waste alcohol, so because I did pour it, I will drink it. I should. It's fine. Never again.
I'd have no issue pouring that shit down the drain.
I'm low-key thinking about it. What you got?
I'm cleaning out my stash in your fridge.
Stash? Yeah. Thanks for...
It's my stash in your fridge. So I'm drinking the Gotta Get Up to Get Down again.
Like a third of my fridge is taken up for fucking podcasts. I just want to
Podcast beer.
Podcast beer is taking up a third of my fridge. It's fine. Honestly, actually, the more you fill it, like the less energy it takes to actually cool the fridge. So you guys are helping my fridge be more efficient. But also,
I buy like beer for this like once a month and then just leave it over here.
well, because you leave it here, like you don't have access to it. But if I don't drink all my beer, I'll drink it like the next day or throughout the week. So I buy weekly, and that's why I'm going through different ones every time, and ultimately end up on shitty selections every once in a while. This is my second shitty one, but this is episode 20, you guys. We've done 20 episodes. This will be quite the hallmark for a new podcast, but. So 2 out of 20, I guess, is a 10% chance of shittiness, so it's fine.
We're doing pretty good, but this week has been pretty slow.
This week has been pretty slow. So we record on Thursdays. This is the 17th. We have Juneteenth coming up, which...
Coming up as in today.
Juneteenth is... oh, wait, no, by the time this airs, it would have been yesterday, Saturday, because this airs on Sunday. Keeping me on my toes, Sam. But I guess so. Biden did sign that into law. That is now a federal holiday. This is the first one in over a decade.
A new holiday.
Yeah,
new
I
federal
think so.
Holiday. Yeah, I mean it's like a
empty symbolic gesture.
Yeah,
it really is.
Because,
but I mean,
like nothing that like Black Lives Matter is asking for is being addressed. You know, this isn't like oh, see, racism's cured. We don't have that anymore. We have Juneteenth, which is what I feel like that they're trying to say.
But how hard are racists' heads exploding? Because that's how.
I imagine like some are like 14 Republican House lawmakers voted against this bill.
You don't say.
Of course, they were all white Republicans,
And
naturally.
I believe they all wanted to make Nathan Bedford Forrest's birthday a holiday.
I thought I heard the same thing. Yeah, I think I did see that. Yeah, and they always lose their mind when it comes to Nathan Bedford Forrest. Didn't they lose their shit when they wanted to remove the bus from the Capitol in Tennessee?
I still don't think it's been removed yet. I
knew that was going to be bullshit when they said that.
Yeah, there's still... Well, it has to go to the historical committee or some shit to decide where to move it. But they voted to remove it. It hasn't been done yet.
And the remains, too. Aren't they still working on getting the remains moved to another location? I know they broke ground by starting to dig around the area. But
I don't know. I know they did take down a monument of Nathan Bedford Forrest in Nashville.
But what I love to do, again, is just go to the comment section just so I can see their tears when they're whining about, erasing history, as they call it. They think that because it's no longer in public display that it won't be taught in history and history classes.
That's why their second front is making sure that it's not, or that racism is not taught in class.
Right, so they'll ban the teaching of critical race theory, but they get all pissy when we want to take down a racist monument that's in public in public grounds.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. So they do Juneteenth, but all around the country, they're fighting to ban critical race theory. How fucking it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's theatrics. They're still upholding a lot of racism, but hey, we got Juneteenth as a holiday.
Because it doesn't work for them. Nathan Bedford Forrest is to them a historic icon. I don't know whether they believe it's, racist or not, but they are. He was, obviously. But they're whining that we're taking down busts and things that glorify this individual.
They're scared that they're losing ground. That's a lot of why they're doing the critical race theory thing, because they're scared that they're losing. And to try to keep critical race theory from being taught, they're trying to make sure that future generations can be just as racist as them. Securing the Republican vote through ignorance, keeping schools down.
Yeah, I feel like we keep talking about it, but it just keeps happening in more and more states.
So, also on Juneteenth, this North Carolina museum is losing a county contract over their Juneteenth event, which is held at a plantation museum, and they
hold their event at a plantation museum.
Well, it's a plantation turned museum.
Okay,
that's who's doing the Juneteenth event, and they thought it would be a good idea to reenact a white slave owner being chased by Union soldiers. And wait, there's something else in here. They also want to let people listen to Confederate soldiers' lament of the fall of the Confederacy.
They'll do what now?
They want to let the Confederate soldiers lament the fall of the Confederacy.
Lament the fall of the Confederacy.
That's what they had decided was a great way of honoring Juneteenth.
Do we know whose brilliant idea this was? People. Or
it does say that the president or the manager of the museum is a black man, and he's defending it. But other black people are like, yeah, no, this is all fucked up. Why?
Distasteful to say the
least.
Good idea.
Right. It's a holiday to honor the slaves who break free of their chain. Yeah, it's not about the fucking slave owners.
Right, it's all about the emancipation, I think, and more specifically in Texas, right? Because it happened in Texas on June 19th, because it happened in different times.
There's no irony that Texas and Abbott are banning critical race theory right when Juneteenth is becoming a holiday. This is direct actions and reactions to each other. That's why Biden making it a federal holiday, it's going to be hard to be like, why are we out of school? Well, we can't talk about why we're out of school.
Well, they wouldn't have school in June, I wouldn't think.
That's true. Oh, okay, it all makes sense. I guess it doesn't matter. I guess no one cares.
You just can't go to your bank, that's all.
Happy day off.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that.
The Knox News Sentinel put out a article today that's talking about how there were reports of racism in the department, and the overhead people just decided to cover it up, and were encouraging the officers who were reporting it not to go to internal affairs. Part of the reasons for not going to internal affairs is then it would get into the hands of Knoxville, or the Knox News Sentinel, and the park, which is the oversight committee, and the public would hear about racism in the department.
Which, I mean, no one here is surprised at all
No.
there's racism.
Knoxville's all about optics, though. Like, the whole way they lied about the way they lied about the way the protests go down. Like, they try really hard to have a happy face in the media. They control the local media, not this source, apparently.
Yeah.
Not as much as they'd like, at least.
So it was the black officer that brought the part of this investigation was DeAndre Jackson, and the white police officer that was involved in this was Adam Broom, I guess. And I guess some of the comments that he told Jackson was like, you should know all about being on a slave ship, and that reparations for you all are bullshit. Did he say you all or y'all? I mean, just according to the investigation from Knox News that began in June 18th. So they've had this. They've been working on this for a while.
Well, I hope this officer learned that he can't change the system by being a part of the system, and he quits being a fucking bastard.
Well, no, he resigned.
He did.
He resigned as soon as he found out there was a complaint filed and lodged against him. But
what, Broom?
Yeah, Broom.
Oh, are you talking about the?
I was talking about the black officer.
Oh,
you can't change the system within the system.
Yeah, he's obviously became a class traitor, and he's learning that you can't do anything.
And it's funny because this isn't the first time they've tried to cover up problems in their precinct. There was the sexual assault allegations from either 2018 or 2019 that, again, Knox News uncovered. But they gave India Kincannon and Chief, Eve Thomas, a chance to provide comments before releasing a story, because they were complaining to Knox News that it would paint them in a bad light if you didn't get our side of it, and they never granted them that interview, I guess. So Knox News was like, well, it's out now.
Kincannon said she's going to do a long interview with Knox News later on.
Yeah, all right. I can't wait to see her choke on her words. She's not really the best at that shit.
So Knox News has clearly been working on this for quite a while and watching it and waiting for.
Yeah, I'm going to put the link to this article, and I encourage everyone to go through, because a lot of information in this. Knox News put some work into this. It's actually nice to see actual local journalistic integrity where they're actually
actually unbiased and not just trying to pollute the ignorant masses I think every other news.
Knox News is kind of irritated with KPD for things too. It's obvious they're trying to avoid accountability with the limiting what press can be around and stuff like that. So the scanner shit prevents press from being there. Some of these the things so they interviewed a bunch of the police officers, both current and former officers. And there's things in here, like one officer said, being a racist is not a deal breaker in the department, and officers see racism as commonly accepted by many in the force. My absolute favorite line in this article, though.
Oh, this was glorious.
It's my head just kind of turned like Stewie Griffin when I read it. Broom aside, multiple officers told Knox News that KPD doesn't have an issue with overt racism. Black officers are just treated differently, they said. Huh.
So, isn't that the very definition of...
Look, we don't have an issue with overt racism. We just have an issue with this thing that looks exactly like overt racism.
They're like, I'm just kidding.
Well, and so they not only did they uncover just the allegations from Broom. I'm actually going to quote here real quick before I get into what I was about to follow into, because you said they dissuaded him to get to internal affairs. We can't tell you not to go to internal affairs. I'm not telling you don't go, but these are the reasons why you don't want to go. The media all in our business. PARC, which is, again, the Police Advisory and Review Committee, will have the information. It's accessible in public records to anybody. So we can handle this in-house without everybody else getting in our business. but they never handled anything. Broom was never transferred. I guess he was kind of moved like across the hall, but there was no disciplinary action.
Across the hall to the next racist? Like, what the heck? What's that going to do? They're all fucking shit.
Well, you know that sexual assault or sexual harassment or whatever thing where one of the sergeants or whatever he drew a woman on her knees, like sucking a dick on the board, and like made some really inappropriate comments. You know what happened to him, right? He got moved. This article said what happened to him too. But he ended up getting moved outside of Kincannon's office with no computer and no duties. His job was just to go there and sit outside Kincannon's office, and he got paid to do that until he finally quit. That's how they handled it.
Police farce.
But it's not just their actions; it's also who they hire and who they promote. Again, Knox News did some digging here. I think they also went through Park to get this information. So Thomas told City Council, I'm not sure who Thomas is, but that during the budgeting process this spring, of the roughly 375 officers, only 19 are black, or just 5%. The city's black population is 17%, according to the U.S. Census estimates, and out of all the leadership positions, there are only 2 black officers in leadership roles, Deputy Chief Ron Green and Lieutenant Stan Cash, out of 375. And I'm sure there's several leadership positions, deputy lieutenants, sergeants, and only 2. And
I'm sure only the most indoctrinated amongst them are pushed up.
So this whole thing was uncovered. Like nobody would know about it except an officer named Blake Morgan left the department, and on his exit interview, he wrote on there, he's like, I loved being a Knoxville police officer. I was dedicated and gave the job and city my all every day. I will not, however, work for an organization that condones racism, harassment, and a hostile work environment and covers it up. And he put in his exit paperwork that he wanted the oversight committee to look into the fucking slave ship comments. That's the only reason that anybody found out about it. And Locke Miller, who's one of the higher ups who knew about all of this, his response to it all was, Morgan was an instigator and was slinging mud from thousands of miles away after leaving KPD for a job in Arizona. But Locke Miller is also the same person who nominated the fucking broom dude for officer of the year or some shit, just after the fucking slave comments were reported.
Yeah, and again, it went to several people too, and none of the supervisors did anything about it regarding either of those things. And apparently, him and Jackson got into it quite a bit, and nothing ever really occurred. No action was taken against Broom. The only reason I'm assuming he even resigned is because IA was going to have to get involved once the investigation began and the complaint was lodged. So
yeah, actually, Locke Miller was not the one who nominated him. It was Early Wine. He's like, yeah, I did. I know how it sounds. To this day, I do not know what Broom allegedly said. My contention was you're innocent until you're proven guilty, and he has put in a lot of effort above and beyond in a particular case. So I put him in for Officer of the Month for that particular case. They're celebrating this guy instead of demoting him, giving him any kind of actions. They're celebrating him.
Not surprised.
But he did resign right after he got that nomination, though.
I mean, racism is pretty rampant.
When racism is the work culture, you have to be racist to fit in. Mm-hmm. The people that complain that it's too racist there, they just don't fit into the work culture. And Tennessee's a right to work state. That's what they mean when they say that you don't fit in. You're not racist like the rest of us.
And fucking Broom told reporters, if it was so bad, why was I still in the unit? Why didn't they ask for a transfer? Why wasn't I transferred? How am I getting Officer of the Month? It's a month, not year. So yeah, he's whining and...
Because he knows they're gonna back him up. I mean, it's their whole system is to silence those who speak out against their fellow officers. So, of course, he's not expect any negative repercussions for his actions, or even think that they were bad, because that's just who he is, and that's racist. They don't see themselves as racist.
He whined because of all the good things he's done for the apartment. This is what will make the news.
My favorite part you haven't mentioned yet is where they basically admit that the protests are working.
Yeah.
That they feel that they have to be on their best behavior because of the continued... I forget how they worded it exactly, but they basically said they have to be on their best behavior in public because of the actions of people.
Good.
So there's your validation that the protests are working. It has them feeling like they have to at least act like they're not racist.
They have to appear not racist in public while still being
because
racist.
they know that the protest community can get stirred up, and that makes their lives harder.
And they're all recording.
Yeah, the protest community are making the police lives harder, and they pretty much said so in those interviews. So congratulations, keep it up.
Right?
Oops on them for admitting that.
And that's why you always record the cops, because that's what's keeping them accountable.
Yep.
And they said so themselves. I don't think it was as direct as the protests are making us, but they're like, we have to make sure that the public...
It's just the optics. They only want to protect their optics. It's
exactly.
Not their behavior.
It's all about
They don't
their
want to fix
optics.
the systemic racism throughout the department. They only worried about their optics and how they look and how they're perceived, because I guess when they get complaints like this, then an investigation actually starts, and then... Now they'll face repercussions.
Yeah, it's like when they were interviewed about the protest. They're like, we at the KPD love that Americans have the right to protest. They'll say out their ass all of that. They want to appear like, oh, it's their right, but they better stay in line and ask for permission to walk down the street at the right times, or we're going to step in.
And then if you get arrested for a protest, they'll put you in the back of a van and drive you off somewhere and shake the van and do shit to fuck with you.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me. Thanks. Really? That's what they do? Yeah. Tell me more. That guy wasn't even part of KPD though. That guy was a recruit. That was his training.
Oh, to fucking bully and intimidate people.
Like we've been saying, that part of the police training procedure is to put them in to work for the prisons first, so that they see the worst of people, so they can start associating the prison population with the citizens, so that they see citizens as a prey-predator relationship instead of a protectory relationship. It's part of their brainwashing, I think.
Lovely.
All right, since we were talking about protests and how successful they are in actually making a difference, keeping police in line, and of course we're recording, there was a protest in Minneapolis. I know, Al, you shared this story. This is not a good story, unfortunately, but we'll hail this woman as a damn hero that she was.
She is a hero.
So
she absolutely is a hero.
This is Deona Marie, I'm going to probably butcher this name, Deona Marie Knajdek Erickson. She was a Minneapolis woman who was killed when a driver plowed an SUV into protesters. There was no barricade there save for her vehicle, and there may have been one other that acted as a barricade between them and another. And the driver, Nicholas Krause, sped towards this white supremacist fascist piece of shit with the intent of murder, and thankfully has been charged with murder instead of vehicular manslaughter or whatever lower charges. Slammed into the driver. This is Erickson. She was 31. She was a mother of 2 young daughters.
No, wait. He didn't slam into the driver of the vehicle. They had the cars as a barricade on that road. And I don't know if they moved the cars because they saw him coming or if the cars were already there. But she set up her vehicle as a barricade. And she was on the other side of the vehicle, outside of it.
Oh, okay.
So
but she was on the streets, okay.
Yeah, he came flying in 100 miles an hour. It slammed her car into her and into a light pole. Wrapped the light pole. and she died. 2 other people were injured during this.
They added another. There was 3 injured.
There were 3 injured?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Still, just a terrible series of events, and we talked about this shit in episode 13, protesting, when we were talking about discussing protesting in Tennessee, when they started enacting laws that would protect drivers from hitting protesters, and it would only encourage them to think that they had this right to do so, and that this would happen. We talked about this shit, just 6 weeks ago or so. And it's not gonna end here. But I do want to hail this woman as a hero. She was a young mother of 2 young daughters. This was supposed to be her week, right? She was celebrating.
Right.
She was celebrating her life like she had been sober. I guess what was?
She had posted on like Instagram or somewhere that it was going to be Deona in the Making week, and yesterday was her birthday, as we were recording this yesterday, and Friday marks 1 year of sobriety for her. So she went into the week, like, celebrating it, or was going into the week celebrating it, and he fucking killed her.
There's some things in this story I want to cover, because, obviously her actions were heroic, keeping that vehicle there, and being on the streets. They were protesting the shooting of, who was the...
It was the police killing of Winston Smith.
Right, that's right. Okay, so and one of the quotes from one of the protesters that was there, and if it wasn't for Deona Marie's car being positioned the way it was, we would have all been dead or seriously injured. This is a large car going through a crowd. The white supremacist that killed her wanted a lot more of us dead, but her car saved us. Mm-hmm. Rest in paradise, Deona. Please look down on us and be our guardian angel. Absolutely. A vehicle that size with no barricade would have plowed through an untold number of people, instantly killing them, seriously injuring many others.
His car was really fucked up. I saw his mugshot earlier today, and his face is not fucked up enough. So after he hit her, the protesters dragged him out of the car. He did get the shit beat out of him a little bit.
Rightly so.
Not sure, and I don't know who would have done that, but they could have beaten him a lot more severely and been like, look, he just drove a car 100 miles an hour into another car. Of course his face is all fucked up. But right. They held him down until the police came. And when the police came, they weren't even really focused on him immediately. They were in there with riot gear harassing the protesters.
Right. So I have another quote exactly what we're talking about. So 10 squad cars showed up with cops in riot gear before a single ambulance. Street medics performed CPR and resuscitated her. Community apprehended the driver. Cops just showed up and threatened everyone with mace, arrests, and rubber bullets. Another said, in the immediate aftermath, street medics and protesters jumped into action and administered emergency first aid. But by contrast, an ambulance arrived long after police reinforcements and riot gear. The people took care of one another. The police did not.
Police aren't here to protect you. They're here to protect the rich. And that's what
we do. That's why I'm getting more and more training on street medics, because we can't count on the police to take care of us. They're going to go in. If there's a protest, what's going to happen every goddamn time is the ambulances are going to park outside of the protest area until police clear the scene. So you can't count on paramedics getting there if somebody gets injured in at a protest. You have to have fucking street medics there and people trained and stop the bleed and everything else to make sure that they give these people the best chance that they can if something does go wrong.
Can we just talk about the fucked up social divide that even has to happen? These people were protesting a killing by police of an individual, and white supremacists show up just as they do, and this will happen more and more. But that's happening. White supremacists are out there with the intent to kill and murder anyone who's supporting a black individual, Black Lives Matter, black rights, anything that doesn't hold white people in power. And they're taking, obviously, violent actions.
There's a clear link between what we were talking about earlier, between racists in the police force and these white supremacists. Who do you think side these cops believe in? These people are protesting the police, and the people killing the protesters are on the police.
Well, don't get me started.
They're on the side of the police.
Shit, Kenosha, right?
Right.
That fucking thing.
Little prick Rittenhouse.
Right. I mean, they applauded him.
They just fucking let him walk away that night. He's trying to turn himself in, hands in the air, and they fucking wave him on.
So to your point, Sam, yeah, exactly. They're on their side. It's the same reason. What was that meme or tweet that said this is the same reason you don't see police at a KKK rally, or what was it?
I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but I know the joke of a KKK wife beater and a murderer walk into the bar, and the bartender says, "What'll it be, officer?"
So the tweet I was talking about earlier is the reason you don't see cops shutting down KKK rallies is the same reason you don't see Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus sitting in the same room.
Right. Yep.
I mean, it's spot on, right?
Mm-hmm. So they're one and the same.
But I mean, absolutely hero this woman was to create this barricade. Obviously, terrible, tragic events for her to lose her life at such a young age, two young children, for her just being on the streets. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, she won't be the last. I don't think. I mean, this country's in turmoil. The racial divide is only growing deeper, I think. Although, I mean, did I hear something about the Proud Boys and others are in financial trouble and shit?
Oh yeah, they're fucking crumbling because, well, their fucking leader came out as a fucking rat, right? They're all
apparently the Proud
Boys
nards. Leader was just a horde of rats in a trench coat.
Yeah. And they all just fucking ratted out each other. It's fucking hilarious.
Solidarity.
Yeah. The fucking white supremacists are on my fucking post laughing about it. They're celebrating.
We laughed pretty hard when one of them blew his face off, so.
Yeah.
They're literally enemies in a war we are in.
Right.
We are at war. There is a civil war going on currently.
We never talked about Craigie Poo.
No, we didn't.
There is a civil war happening right fucking
there
now.
Is, yeah.
That's not a hyperbole at all.
No, that's exactly why he drove a vehicle into a fucking protest.
It is mostly a Cold War, and then sometimes a Cold War skirmishes happen. But we are 110% in the middle of a Cold War in America.
With them laughing, though, I don't think they recognize that, as someone who goes out on the streets pretty regularly to protest, I'm well aware that all it takes is one fucking time, me being out there in the wrong place at the wrong time, for me to be killed while protesting. I've already been in a situation where I had just left before a shooting happened at a protest. We all are aware of the risk when we go out there. We all decide to take that risk. We're all fighting for something that we believe is worth that risk. The
fact that you get to prepare fucking medic kits, though, is just the saddest fucking thing because, you're right. Shit can happen any time because white supremacists will take violent action.
And we also understand that our local police force is on the side and have members that are on the side of the white supremacists.
So they're not that overly concerned about saving our lives. So once again, if you have access to medical training, get trained up. Go out there as street medics because we protect ourselves. The only fighting chance we have of somebody living after a horrible incident on the street is for us to be trained in medic shit and for us to do everything we can to save them.
Right, because the protests will continue because the police suck and will continue to kill unarmed people or escalate situations that involve in police killings that ought not to.
You know what? I might even say that the police killing innocent black people is just part of the civil war going on.
Not even just black people. They've killed Hispanics. There's white people they've killed that. The outrage of remember the kid that was in the hotel that was
it
crawling
was
towards him.
Daniel Shaver, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that was fucking outrageous too. Like, it's not just the black people. You see a lot of black people because they at a much higher ratio.
I like all the white people that were like, look at Daniel Shaver. Why isn't nobody talking about him? We are talking about him. And you know what? If you join, like, when we're out in the streets fighting for Black Lives Matter, do you not realize that if we cut back on the police killing black people, white people will get killed less too? You know, like, if you don't agree with the police fucking killing people, it shouldn't matter who they're fucking killing. Whether they're white, black, Asian, it doesn't fucking matter. Police should not be killing people.
Absolutely.
I mean, we take it one step further and to defund the police.
Yeah.
Like, the police force as a institution is fucked. I mean, I don't think that, like, that's one thing that us on the left have fights with liberals who are like liberals will be like, oh, when we say defund the police, what we really mean is no, we mean no, we don't want
abolish,
abolish, not defund, fucking abolish. Like, I do not want the police force. I'm not saying I don't want,
Okay, so the question they're going to come up with is, and this is a valid point. Not having police, like, a lot of things will go down, I think, a lot of crimes, because that money will go into food, healthcare,
just
drug
ending
treatment,
the war on
all
drugs would change a lot.
Right,
cops don't prevent crime. They don't
prevent crime. But, like, if we abolish police entirely, what do we do about the fact that there will still be murderers? There will still be people who murder.
You still have an investigation force.
That's my thing.
Because the police don't stop murders. Like, there's never a murder about to happen, and, like, the pre-crime unit busts in like it's a fucking Philip K. Dick novel.
The only thing that I think needs to somewhat still exist is some sort of presence that can quickly, rapidly get to a domestic assault situation,
or any kind of, like, if somebody was murdered, we still need people there. We still want to know who the murderer is.
It's still an investigation.
But
detectives are already pretty different than police.
But, like, say you're in an apartment and you hear your neighbor getting her shit, like, beat up by her boyfriend. There's going to be somebody who can intervene.
Someone that can intervene that knows a little more about psychology and a little less about beating the shit out of people.
So you send in social workers and, why is your dog's nose up my fucking shorts?
You're going to have to do that. You could have segued that better.
Just leave it in. It's fine.
So proceed.
I want to know why your dog's fucking nose was up my shorts.
Well, he smells things. I'm sorry.
It's probably where I had the treats earlier. Okay, so back to...
Good boy, Tino.
Huh?
I said good boy, Tino.
He's sitting down now.
He found there was no treats there, so he's good. He's good where he's at now. This is the joys of recording in a live situation.
With fucking animals.
With animals. I mean, at least we don't have the cats knocking our shit down anymore. That was fun. So, what were you saying prior to Tino's nose in your crotch? So social workers, they were trained to deal with de-escalation.
De-escalation, yeah, that needs to happen. And, if there is violence, you have the detectives there for that. But, when it comes to domestic violence, cops don't really even handle those situations well. I'm in a group with women trying to leave domestic violence situations, and I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of them calling the cops and the cops doing absolutely fucking nothing.
Do they just high-five the guy that's like, me too, man. I'm going to go home and beat my wife, too. Don't worry about it.
You shared a thread of people who shared stories of exactly that same thing. That's right. I just read that.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to bring up the fact that it's the anniversary of the drug war. Thanks, Reagan. And since the war on drugs was declared, we are at the same number of drug users. It has not gone down at all.
We're
completely. Winning. Drugs win the war on drugs. The numbers of drug users has not gone down, but the number of imprisoned Americans has gone up. We are the largest prison force in the world.
Yeah,
that's because
We beat fucking openly fascist countries like China in population to prison ratio. We are the largest prison force.
That's because they're for-profit prisons too.
Yeah,
for fuck's sake.
Thanks capitalism. It gives all the war on drugs has done is increased violence, increased deaths, increased incarceration,
ruin families.
Like this is the legacy of Reagan.
And due to mandatory minimums, is racist as fuck. In terms of the mandatory minimums on for drug offenses.
But because the war on drugs is so entangled with capitalism, this is why police forces fight really hard to make sure that drugs don't become legalized, because we cannot roll back the laws that we've passed on drugs, because this is what sustains our fascist police force. It also gives officers reason to be more fascist. Oh, I thought I smelled something. Oh, I think you are on drugs. Oh, I think this. You might have drugs. Drugs are always the excuse that police can use to break your rights.
Yeah, we had that story in Louisiana where they had those goals they had to make 2 drug arrests or something a day, and so they started planting shit on people. So
exactly so that's why the war on drugs will never end. Because it benefits it gives the fascists more power. The police are fucking openly fascist, and it gives them more power to do that. And they don't really give a shit about actually helping people. They just give a shit about making more money. It's welcome to capitalism. Let's put more people in prison. Let's make sure that our budgets increase so that we can keep fighting the drugs that don't go down. Like, the drug dealers want to stay in business too, so they don't want to become legal.
And the reoffense rates for them, because they don't get treatment at all, necessary treatment.
And then then they can't get a job, so they go right back into crime.
Correct.
Like, it's a cycle that feeds itself because it's designed to. It's another one of these cases of I will jump down any liberal's throat. Oh, the system's broken. Like, no, the system's not fucking broken. It's made to be this cyclical. It's made so that it feeds itself. The drug system feeds itself. It'll never end because they don't want it to end, because that's where they get their fucking budget. That's how you get fucking bitch Kincannon on a fucking tank. Because, oh, she's gonna keep drugs out of my Knoxville community. To all these fucking Republican voters.
Do you know what I haven't heard anything about lately? And it's probably because it's working, is Oregon, when they decriminalized the majority of drug use there. I haven't heard any severely negative news stories coming to that.
Nothing negative has come out of that yet.
So maybe because it fucking is not a problem if you provide treatment rather than incarceration for small drug offenses.
But
other countries have figured that out, haven't they?
I mean,
other countries have way better police forces than ours too, and they don't even have to carry fucking weapons.
You mean other countries that don't want an infinite amount of money to buy tanks? What are you talking about?
I mean, every time I see a story about I'm on Reddit, and every time I see a story about a cop in fucking like the UK, for instance, it's never a bad story. It's like a cop drove a fucking drunk guy home and took him home. I'm sure there's outlets.
Not that the UK isn't super fucking fascist.
Yeah, the UK.
Where was I thinking?
Has
it may be Ireland.
issues.
It may have been Ireland. I'm thinking. I'm not sure. It was a funny story.
UK doesn't have guns, but they also have a fucking security camera on every fucking corner.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck the UK. Guy Ritchie makes crime movies about the drugs culture in England.
It may not have been the UK. The one I saw, it was. I just noticed that none of the stories I saw from whatever this country was, like, they were just completely like
English. There's a reason why 1984 V for Vendetta take place in England, because
you're right.
They knew that breed of fascism would hit there first. On to Texas.
Wait, what about Texas?
What's going on in Texas?
Well, Texas power grid was not ready for the winter, so they all froze to death.
Right.
So now they're getting over 100-degree heat, and guess what? They're not ready for that either, and now a bunch of people are dead. Yay, Texas
they're not
power
dead yet,
grid.
but they're about to be.
They're not dead yet. But
what's going to save them?
So we did discuss in episode 3 the Texas energy crisis, and then during the episode we'd only heard about a handful of deaths, less than 10. it has been now reported up to 40 people had died during that incident.
Was it only 48? Because I saw something the other day that said something like 112.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Can't confirm, so
yeah.
I just knew that the number was a lot higher. But
and the number, like, they're still attributing deaths to that, so it's the final count still isn't out.
Right, and hey, guess what's not being frozen right now? Wind turbines. So what are they going to bitch about it? Blame it on now,
right?
Yeah, I think Abbott is saying like, our power systems are fine, but please turn your air systems up really.
Yeah, don't use your appliances all the time, or they're just trying to do all these things. But I saved this tweet that aged like fucking milk from our favorite Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, who in I think 2020.
Abbott is a real piece of shit.
Abbott is, but remember, because Ted Cruz took a fucking trip to Cancun during that time, during the Texas energy crisis.
Yep, he had to go back home, though, didn't he? When he got too much shit about it,
he got shit, so he came home. But so the office of the governor of California tweeted out, "We must do our part to conserve energy through 10 p.m. Turn off unnecessary lights, avoid using major appliances, set thermostats to 78 or higher. Standard things to conserve energy."
Yeah.
So Ted Cruz tweets, "California is now unable to perform even basic functions of civilization like having reliable electricity. Biden-Harris AOC want to make California's failed energy policy the standard nationwide. Hope you don't like air conditioning." I'm like, that aged like milk, you son of a bitch.
Right.
So here's from Parker Butler. For every Texan who is currently being advised to not wash your clothes or use your oven, remember this. Texas Republicans just spent the legislative session restricting abortion access and allowing permitless carry, but passed nothing that would immediately help the end of blackouts.
Yeah, I mean, ERCOT, I guess they have a new board now because 6 of their members resigned during in February during the energy crisis.
Yeah, I'm sure this board isn't made up of capitalist pigs who want to exploit people. They surely wouldn't be.
But I mean, the country is facing record heat right now. Mm-hmm. Across the nation. So, I mean, obviously, the power grid is going to be under heavy consumption. I mean, but this is, again, because we talked about it in episode 3, they're largely unregulated. They're trying to be as independent as shit. And their power grid is just not handled is just not designed to handle this much. Obviously, they've got to learn something because in February, record cold. Now, and it's only fucking June. It's not even the solstice yet.
Yeah, Texas.
Like August. No, Texas is when September is when Texas really shits the bed in heat. I remember living there in San Antonio and driving back from Corpus Christi in late September, and it was 104 at 7 p.m. when we got back to San Antonio. So it is sweltering heat.
It says the Texas power grid is awesome as long as it's not too cold or not too hot. Now, the cold was different
fluke
for them. That was a fluke, but I mean, it was a fluke of the past. It's not going to be in the new climate fucked world that we're living in.
Right.
Currently.
I mean, that's the new normal. I think it's going to be the new normal. This is the new
it's
normal.
It's also, another thing in the news is we've already beaten like record hot temperatures for the ever. Like, we're just going to do that every year until everyone's dead.
Again,
so
nothing
have
I'm not
fun with
surprised.
that.
Yeah, again, nothing I'm not surprised by.
Have fun with record temperatures until everyone's dead, period. But, so Texas gets to deal with that first, Like I say, like, people expect an apocalypse to, like, happen to everyone at once, but it's more like Texas dies this week, next week another place is going to get a storm or a tsunami. Like, it's a little different. We know how, like, America handled the COVID pandemic. How are they going to handle the climate crisis when everyone in Texas can't live there anymore and has to move into other states, and we have to deal with Texas climate refugees?
Yeah, so, but right now, I don't know like what to even tell the people in Texas because with these sweltering heats, like now,
kill your governor.
Right. Sam, you're going to get us sued like every fucking episode. But in February, people could burn things. Some people were burning things they should have been, which caused carbon monoxide poisoning. But they can find ways to create heat. There is no way to escape.
I hear the best way to cool the planet is to kill billionaires. I think that's the only way that we're going to beat global warming is to burn them down and stop.
We can use
in a smoker or on a grill.
We actually just use the Texas heat to cook them. Honestly, at this point,
just grill them on the pavement.
Slow roast them.
Yeah, you can spin them down the road. Just
Yo,
roll
I haven't
them
had
down
dinner
the
yet. Stop! You're making me hungry.
But
you know what? Because we started laughing about it, we never actually got during your Alistair's appetizing meal suggestions episode 19. Sam and I picked Elon Musk as our billionaire that we would eat. Who would you think would be the most tasty? Because we moved on pretty quick after that, but I'm kind of interested in who.
I think I would get high from eating Elon. Okay.
Yeah, but that's the point. It's like tasting a gummy.
Yeah,
an edible.
It's an edible.
He's an
edible. He's just so.
It'd definitely be Elon Musk, but I don't agree with just eating one. I think we need to at least take the top 10.
I think
for one, like.
I want to... Okay, fine. The one that we should eat is the one that is not in everyone's mouth. It's the billionaire that keeps his name out of the news, because that's the dangerous one.
Are you talking about Buffett right now, or who are you just talking about?
No, not Buffett. No, someone that is not even on our radar. There's plenty of billionaires that are running things.
Well, we're talking about the wealthiest of the wealthy in America, which their wealth alone. Well, in the world, world, but their wealth alone could solve a lot of problems, at least locally here in the United States. But
the Pope would be tasty. Actually, the Pope would be really tasty.
You think?
Yeah. The fucking Catholic Church.
I think it would be like really fatty and like just gristly. I think I'm not a fan of
the Catholic Church.
Still be satisfying. I like a little fat on my meat.
All right. So speaking of the Catholic Church, the Supreme Court ruled today unanimously in a 9-0 decision that a Catholic Social Services Agency in Philadelphia could defy city rules and refuse to work with same-sex couples who apply to take in foster children. So Philadelphia basically said, we're not renewing your contract because you discriminate. And so they sued, and the Supreme Court ruling, it's a narrow ruling, so it only applies to this case, so it's not like it doesn't open the floodgates, just like they did with Masterpiece Cake Shop. But they basically said it violates their First Amendment rights, that they could prevent same-sex couples from fostering children because it goes against their religious beliefs. So they would rather not have a child placed in a home. Mm-hmm. And the Supreme Court, blew me away, I guess.
I mean, we were just talking about last week where the Catholic Church, murdered 200 kids. So, there are pieces of shit that rape children, right? I've never met a Catholic who wasn't, blasé about being part of a piece of shit organization.
So, the Supreme Court's justification, the majority opinion was written by Chief Justice John Roberts, and he wrote for 6 members who joined in his opinion. It focused narrowly on the terms of the city's contract with foster care agencies, which forbids discrimination based on, among other things, sexual orientation. But the contract allows city officials to make exceptions, he wrote, and that doomed the requirement that the Catholic agency must screen same-sex couples. So because they can make exceptions in some areas, and not make an exception in this one because they don't want their agencies to discriminate, that doomed, I guess, the decision.
The Catholic Church has been in charge of everything in the world in the past.
Especially in Philadelphia.
Why, the real question is, why are Catholics in charge of adoption? And that is a relic of the past, too. That's a part of their power that they're still holding on to. The Catholic Church used to be in charge of literally everything.
How many hospitals are they in charge of, too, now, as well?
Yeah, hospitals, fucking everything. They have been one of the major forces in the fucking world. Like we had said previously, they have more power than countries.
But I don't understand that the goal, though, is to place foster children in families that want them.
No, their goal is to create more Catholics. And gay children do not become Catholics.
But, okay, so how exactly did it work with the city? Is it just one of the agencies?
They would receive funding.
They receive funding.
So this is because they don't get money now, because they receive funding from the city of Philadelphia to work with to hold this program.
Catholicism has infiltrated the government to such an extent that they have that power. They have infiltrated the Supreme Court. Many of those judges are Catholic.
That is very true.
Catholics are against abortion. Catholics are against everything that doesn't create more Catholics.
So this is about because they're losing money, that's why they're suing. Because
they're losing money and they're losing more Catholics. Like, how many gay Catholics do you know?
Wouldn't they already get, like, funding from the people seeking to adopt and the people giving children up?
I mean, still, I
guess that's for profit at that point, and they can't be for profit, so they need the fucking city's funds to create that profit instead.
I mean, Catholics attempted to conquer the world and they failed. Like, they still want to, so they do their best they can by making sure they own enough power within a city to do whatever the fuck they want. Like, that's the way that I view the Catholic Church. Like, it doesn't seem surprising to me that they would make decisions to... Like, the Catholic Church is obviously not an organization for good. They're an organization which is built upon propagating itself. And, you know, they hate gay people. They've been very... Like, the liberal... bullshit liberal, like, priest, everyone's like, oh, this is the best priest ever, really low bar there, and they're like, he's such a good priest, and then he's like, oh no, gays are still burning in hell. The Catholic Church is going to make decisions to propagate itself.
Yeah.
And
because they've infiltrated, you know, obviously.
So it is in the Catholic Church's best. If you were the Catholic Church, it would be in your best interest to make more Catholics and to adopt gay children.
No, it's not gay children. They're
interest.
preventing same-sex couples from fostering children.
From fostering children so that they can teach their children not to be Catholic. Because how many gay Catholics you know? It is in the Catholic Church's best interest to stop gay people from progressing children, teaching children. Gay people cannot pass their genes on through normal sex, so they have to adopt. And they are doing their best part to make sure that they don't propagate their values. It's in the Catholic Church's best interest to make sure that doesn't happen. It makes sense.
I would have thought at least that the three liberal justices would have voted.
I don't trust any of those pieces
apparently
of
not.
shit.
You know what? Honestly,
I will never trust the Supreme Court again. We should not trust them as a rule of law.
Honestly, so in a lot of things, the liberal wing do kind of tend to side with a lot of the views of the progressive things. But when it comes to church-state separation issues, at best 7-2. I mean, they religious things they will vote for even if it violates. So we're going to see more and more of that. And unfortunately, they did pick up a lot of abortion cases, which are going to, I guess, come to fruition.
That's when
spring.
we will go to war. This country should burn. If they challenge Roe v. Wade.
Well, we'll see. That's the Mississippi case.
That's the fucking line. I don't want to see a day without this whole country burning. If
I know arguments are set for that in fall. I think with a decision in spring of 2022.
Yeah.
So we have until then. But there's fucking literally nothing.
The
we
fires
can do
should blot out the sun if they try to strike that down.
You're really dark sometimes, Sam.
Have you seen the world we live in? We were just talking about the hottest year on record. You understand.
Let's just make it hotter, burn it all down.
You understand we're 1 or 2 generations away from apocalypse.
Oh, we absolutely are. Oh, I mean,
I'm glad that's
why I'm not raising children.
I'm glad I don't have fucking children. I'm gonna let humans fight it out. Fuck this shit. I don't want to have to worry about my progeny fighting over the ashes of this stupid fucking country.
Right, because I think it's only going to get worse because the power is shifting more and more to the right, and the right is making sure that they hold on to that power. We talked about it through gerrymandering, through voter suppression, things like that. All the other bills that we said.
The billionaires will hide in their fucking bunkers while the poor eat themselves.
Or in space. So they're talking about that in the last episode. They're
fine. They're trying Elon Musk can live on Mars with him and his fucking Grimes and 123XYZ, and they'll just have their new fucking Martian colony. Sure,
and Bezos too.
Yeah. I don't think. Do you think the billionaires even get along with each other? No, they're the real Like, they're the real ones that butt heads.
Maybe.
As long as it's their profits are good, I think they get along probably just fine.
You don't think they're vying for power against each other?
I
fuck countries warring against each other. Like,
I don't think Elon Musk gives a shit about Jeff Bezos or anything like that.
You don't think they step on each other's toes in some way?
No, because they're entirely different market. No, actually, they're in the same market in terms of space exploration. Bezos has the blue origin.
Countries and borders don't mean shit. It's all about capitalist profits and organizations now. We are not a world of countries and borders. We are a world of corporations. The Supreme Court says that corporations are entities amongst themselves, and they pretty much are.
I gave Dustin some editing when I saw a headline and got a little excited.
You did, but you didn't actually read the entire... You saw the headline, you didn't actually read the deep dive. So the headline you saw, what was the headline you saw?
The McCloskeys, that St. Louis couple that wielded their guns on the front lawn because there were some black people on their street. It was terrifying to them, and they thought their lives were at risk. So they pleaded guilty. And they had to give up their guns, but the headline is misleading.
It is misleading. So let me tell you what actually happened. So Mark McCloskey, who is 64, he pled guilty to 4th degree assault, which is a Class C misdemeanor, and will pay a fine of only $750. His wife Patricia will pay a fine of $2,000 after pleading guilty to a 2nd degree harassment, a Class A misdemeanor. Now, he could have faced up to 15 days in jail, and she could have faced up to a year. Neither will serve jail time. But because it is a misdemeanor, neither will lose their law licenses, nor will it affect their ability to own guns or run for office, as we talked about in episode, I want to say, 18, where he's running
this article I'm reading says there's no indication yet how the guilty plea will affect their law licenses in the state of Missouri.
I saw 2 different articles that because the guilty pleas and misdemeanors will not affect their ability.
There's this other article that is saying they pleaded guilty to 2 felonies. So there's all sorts of different information out about this. But I think it was misdemeanors. But why was hers a harassment and his was an assault?
I haven't found anything in either article that separated or gave clues as to why that was the case. According to their lawyer, Joel Schultz, it was him who said that their guilty pleas to misdemeanors will not affect their ability to own guns or run for office. So that's according to their attorney.
So yeah, $2,750 total. No jail time. That's what these fuckers get for threatening people with guns.
Yeah, and then of course on the steps of the courthouse, according to Mark, he said the prosecutor dropped every charge except for alleging that I purposely placed other people in imminent risk of physical injury. Right? And I sure as heck did. That's what guns were there for, and I'd do it again anytime the mob approaches me. In other words, I stood on the porch with my rifle and made them back up. And that's what I'd do again. If that's a crime in Missouri, by God, I did it, and I'd do it again.
And see, this is this is proof that things are only illegal. Fine-based penalties like this means it's only illegal if you can't afford the fucking fine. Fucking less than $3,000 for 2 fucking lawyers. How is that hurting them? How is that going to make them realize that they did anything wrong?
So I'm gonna side with the prosecutor on this one, because why do your job when the governor already told in a statement out loud that he would pardon them if they were convicted? So he got what the bare minimum that he could get, because if he actually charged them with any kind of crime that would have involved any jail time, the governor would have pardoned them, and all that work that the prosecution did would have been for naught. So I can't blame the prosecution in this, because the governor stepped on his dick. Or her dick. I don't know whose dick was stepped on, but when the governor announced that as soon as any charges any convictions were processed, he would immediately issue a pardon for both of them. So the prosecution's hands were tied in this instance. They knew going in that the governor had already promised this pardon. So why waste your time charging these people with a very valid crime when it's going to be a waste? So that's how I see it.
Why did they plead guilty if that's the case, though? Like, if they knew that they could have been pardoned if they got charged with felonies.
Because they dropped all the other charges.
Huh?
Because they dropped all the other charges. They were
going to have them pardoned anyway. So why not go through with it and get it all cleared? Why plead guilty? Because he wanted it done before the election, maybe?
Probably. I'd probably have the advice of the lawyer who's like, you guys, it's $2,750. It's a fucking walk in the park for you guys. It's a misdemeanor. You don't lose your law licenses. It won't affect your ability to run for office. It won't affect your ability to own guns. This is fucking nothing. Just take it and just take it and go, and just be done with it. That's my guess. That's my absolute guess with this, because they want to draw it out, and with him announcing his run for Senate, I'm sure he wants to hit the campaign trail and not be tied up in courts. So that's my guess. But again, to your credit. You said, if you're rich enough, the fines don't matter, and this didn't matter to them.
It doesn't fucking matter at all. That $3,000, they probably spend that in a fucking weekend. Oh.
They probably crowdfunded it.
Fucking.
No, he actually said he tried to raise money by, like, selling the guns for charity, but the lawyer's like, that's not a good idea. Yes. That's something I read earlier. I was like, yeah, maybe don't do that. All right, well, before we wrap up, I know we talked about KPD and their racist shit going on, but we do have a few ACAB stories of the week, so let's go ahead and get into that.
Go ahead. Yeah, this is ACAB of the week.
All right, so in Honolulu, we have two different stories. One is that 3 officers were charged in the killing of a 16-year-old boy. This case is kind of unique because the grand jury actually decided not to charge these officers.
We've seen that before where the grand jury has declined to pick up some of these cases.
Yeah, but like it's at least in Hawaii, this is not a common thing for a prosecutor to then decide they want to charge them. But what made them want to charge is the officers claimed that he had tried to back into this car and rammed their car. But they said that the fucking dash cam footage, none of the footage actually showed that happening. And the one officer, Officer Tom, who's a 5-year veteran at the Honolulu Police Department, he shot 10 times into the back of this kid. All hit in the head and shoulder area. Another officer fired one single shot that missed. And then the third officer, he shot a few times into the passenger seat and hit the boy's brother.
We see this a lot where they fire into vehicles just because they're trying to evade. Like, that's not a fucking death sentence.
It's not.
Anytime. It happens all the time, though. This is not the first. This is probably the 3rd or 4th time this year alone where we've seen where shots were fired into a vehicle. One being she's not holding her taser because she's a fucking idiot. But the others where they fire into the vehicle from behind. This was 10 shots from one officer, 1 from another.
Yeah, I can't find the number of the other one, but I know the brother got hit multiple times, like in his hand and shoulder or something.
Well, there were at least 4. According to so I'm looking at the bullet trajectory, there were 5 shots into the shoulder back area.
That's the driver, I believe.
That is right, and 4 shots directly into the head area of the vehicle. And he was a 16-year-old. They claim that he was in a stolen vehicle. I mean, I don't give a shit what crime they think he was not a danger to them. As you said, they found no evidence so that he actually rammed a vehicle. They saw a few scuff marks and minor paint chips. That's not what happens if you get rammed by a vehicle.
Oh, the brother ended up getting hit in his right shoulder and right hand. So he lived and is fine, but the 16-year-old, I believe, was killed. And the police didn't want to release that body cam footage, of course.
Oh yeah, so they'd refused to release it, but they did obtain the video where then they were shot, and then I didn't watch this one. But I mean, at least the prosecutors taking action and charging the officers is, again, another step of accountability. And now next comes what always does happen, which is a civil suit, which is going to be filed, which is going to cost, the taxpayers probably millions. Not to mention the needless loss of life from the actions of police that just get pissed off that someone's running away from them and just fire indiscriminately into vehicles. So again, the citizens of Honolulu will be forced to, pay for that because police are such dicks that they don't want to chase, or they just don't want someone to get away. I don't understand why they think it's a death sentence to try to run from police. It's not a death sentence to evade police. There is no crime of running from police that results in killing, and yet it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Do you think they get reprimanded for people getting away or something? Why are they so scared that people are going to get away from them?
I think it's more of like an ego thing.
That and the adrenaline.
You're not going to get away from me,
Yeah.
I feel like they're like, oh shit, I'm going to lose points. This is going to affect my KD. I need to keep my KD high.
They kept their KD high on this one. But yeah, it's disgusting. We've seen it again, time and time again, but at least now, with them being held accountable, maybe the rest of the force there in fucking Honolulu knows not to just fire indiscriminately towards, and maybe don't lie on your police report when But what's worse is they would have gotten away with it too. I mean, until the prosecutor actually did the investigation to look into the facts of the case. I don't understand why it took so long. Why the grand jury declined to hear it. So that makes no sense to me. But
the grand jury there decides with the officers, like many other places.
But so the family's lawsuit alleges negligence, assault and battery, and asks the state court to award damages, reimburse costs, and declare that the officer's use of deadly force was unlawful and unauthorized, which I guess is going to be a pretty good case now that their three were charged.
Right.
And do we know what they charged with? Were they all charged with...
They got 3 different charges.
So one with murder and 2 with attempted murder. Okay.
Yeah. But it just shows, why is it one officer fired 10 fucking shots, one only fired 1? And, I just wonder how that all played out. Did the one officer who shot 1 just shoot because other people were shooting?
That does happen.
Yeah. Or did he fire the first shot and then the other 2 went crazy with it?
Well, they reviewed a lot of information, so...
Yeah, I saw something like 140 pages of shit.
Well, it's actually more than that. So prosecuting attorney Steve Alm said that his office reviewed more than 1,300 pages of police reports, 40 videos from other nearby cameras, and this stat I don't understand, 70 body camera videos, and I don't understand how with 3 officers they would have 70 body camera videos. So that I don't understand, but that's a lot of information that he had to go through to indict the same 3 officers.
So then also in Honolulu, this situation, it's really weird. It was a black man. He's South African. He moved to Hawaii because his wife was from Hawaii, and he wanted to join her there. Was a house apparently that looked very similar to I'm not sure what his religion is, but there was a temple right next door to this house that looked similar. So his wife is saying it looked like he was going to his temple. He took his shoes off before entering, which sounds like something that some cultures do before they go into church. I know Muslims will do that. So he takes off his shoes, walks into this house right behind this couple, like he thinks that the couple may be going to the worship center as well. They get into the house and they start freaking out, screaming. He apologizes, walks out, gets his shoes on.
In about a minute. Or
yeah,
less than a minute.
Less than a minute.
Yeah,
it was immediately. As soon as they freaked out, he turned around and apologized and walked out.
And then they called 911.
They called 911.
And so he's still confused and he's still in the same area. And the police arrived and she is still freaking the fuck out.
Saying he was acting erratic and stuff, and he wasn't. You can see from the Ring camera, he walked in, he looked confused. He walked in and he walked out, got his shoes on, and was leaving. And then the cops pulled up. Now, keep in mind, it's dark.
The video was dark.
This is a man who is not even American. It's dark. He has somebody pulling guns on him. The police do not announce who they are. They just start giving commands. Somehow, I guess it looks like a scuffle happened. And he ends up shot and murdered. And then they say,
as soon as
police.
The shots were fired, as soon as the 3 shots were fired, then they say police. Then they finally identify themselves.
So this man was most likely just fucking confused because it's dark and
well,
he doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
You heard his frantic screams when they were coming at him, like in his native language.
Yeah, he was. I didn't hear him say his English word other than sorry on the fucking video they had. Mm-hmm. Like. And he knows that these people are freaked out because he obviously went into the wrong place. Somebody comes at him with a gun. It's dark. How the fuck does this man know who it is?
And what Sam has brought up time and time again is what the police always do. They push a narrative, and here's the narrative they pushed. Before the video was released from the ring cam footage, the police tried to convince the public that this was a burglary. Mm-hmm. And that Lindani was acting erratically, but then we had the doorbell video that they now obtained from the owner, shows that Honolulu Police Department knew all along these stories were untrue. They always fucking do that. They always do until they know there's evidence out there contradicting, because they don't have to release their body cams, nor will they.
And they fought releasing it.
If the public buys their story that they push out, there's no need to.
And the thing is even after body camera comes out, there's a certain population of people that will continue to repeat the narrative that the police said. Even when it comes out that this narrative is not fucking true, they will continue to push it and push it and push it and excuse that fucking behavior.
I mean, I kind of want to bitch about the owner, too. I mean, dude's apologizing, and then she is just still freaking the fuck out, and then she's like, that's him, that's him, that's him. She even yells at the cops to shoot him.
It's a black man, and, I mean, white people aren't the only people who are racist against black people. No. I mean, Asians, Hispanics, a lot of other cultures, especially when they come here to America. She was an Asian woman. A lot of other cultures are racist against white people, too, especially when moving to the U.S. All they've heard is negative media, negative shit about black people here. So a lot of them, clearly not all of them, but there is a huge problem of racism against black people in other cultures. So the way she acted, it kind of seemed like some internalized racism.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there was irrational behavior from it. Talking about erratic, she was the only erratic person I saw in that fucking video until the 3 approached him, yelling threatening commands without identifying themselves. I mean, he seemed apologetic. Of course, he definitely was apologetic. We saw in the video. I mean, you're not going to go in to rob a place taking your shoes off to do so. Right.
Like, he wasn't he wasn't wearing all black and trying to be sneaky and maybe taking off his shoes because footprints in the house or debris in the house. You could tell it wasn't that. I think he's wearing, like, white or so. He's wearing light-colored clothes. And, like, it's very careful, like he's going to a fucking worship center.
Right, and the cops obviously immediately believe the story that he broke into their home, and that's why they're approaching him with guns drawn instead of trying to calmly approach the man
and find out, like, ask, hey, what the fuck happened?
Right.
What happened here?
They approach, guns drawn, flashlight in his face, not announcing themselves. Flashlight in your face. You can't see who the person is, who these people are. You're foreign. This is new to you. You know, this is threatening behavior to you.
The wife ended up moving to South Africa, and said she's wanting to become a citizen there. She's like, I never thought that would happen in my home, and I don't want to be a part of that anymore. So she's trying to get citizenship for South Africa after her husband was
hear
murdered.
They treat black people much better there.
The unfortunate part of this is because on the body cam footage, even though they didn't announce who he was, there were police officers and there was a scuffle. They're going to call this a justified shooting. Absolutely. And so none of the officers will face repercussions or reprimands.
But without announcing, like, They're gonna. You're right that they're going to.
To us, it seems obvious that there should be some
major mistakes were made,
right.
Just like with Anthony Thompson
Correct.
Jr. Major mistakes were made. The police could have done things differently that would have prevented death. So, like, we need to look at that shit. We need to stop calling it justified. Teach your fucking officers not to make these same goddamn mistakes over and over again, so that we have less fucking people being killed by police.
Well, we talked about it. They don't de-escalate. They don't. I mean, approaching guns drawn with blinding flashlights in someone's face is not, without announcing yourself, is not a de-escalation tactic.
And that whatsoever. Was like fucking Breonna Taylor. That was the case. They never announced themselves before entering her home.
It was just the dumbest thing, though. When after the shots were fired, then they finally yelled police.
No, that was the second one, wasn't it? Or the first story, wasn't it?
No, that was the second story. That was this story.
Oh, this one?
It was this story because they did not identify after the three shots were fired.
They realized that they fucked up at that point, and that's why they said police, to try to cover their ass after the fact.
Oh,
like, look, you heard us say police. Sure, he's already fucking dying on the ground, but we announced ourselves.
And again, it's only because this footage from the ring, from this doorbell, that's the only reason this would even come to light. That's why, I mean, I always record cops because they fucking do lie, and they push their narrative to skirt
just
their police
how
misconduct.
Much shit was going on before cameras were everywhere.
Oh, I know, and it's still right now because not everyone has cameras.
Just imagine in the 30s and 60s. Just imagine during race riots in the 60s what was going on that wasn't being reported because there was no cameras everywhere.
I mean, how many times have you seen right now? I mean, I can go through Reddit and probably find 5 videos right now where police get pissed off and try to charge at people who are recording them because they know they're on camera. Like, they don't want you recording them.
I will say KPD is better than that because, with me driving around all the time, if I have free time and I see the cops have someone stopped.
Well, that's because KPD is all about optics. They are really aware of how they were trying to look.
There's a lot of times that I'll pull over and pull out my camera. I'll hold it up. I won't start reporting until I see something fucked up is happening. But I'll just hold my camera up like I'm recording, and they'll look over at me, but they never usually... I usually will stay back away, too. I don't get right up in their shit. But I let them know that they're being watched, and they haven't ever harassed me for doing that yet. I did see them, like... I felt so bad for this lady. She seemed to be, like, taking a nap while waiting for the bus. So she was laying down on the ground at a bus stop here. And then I saw a fire truck come up and stop and talk to her. Someone obviously called 911 thinking she was dead because she was laying down. The fire truck left. Then I saw a police officer come by. And I started watching then. I was across the street picking up an order. And he got in his car. He drove off. But then an ambulance pulled up. And then they stuck around and they actually talked to her a bit more. But as this ambulance was there... 2 more police officers came in, and I saw the ambulance leaving and the 2 officers approaching her, and by that point in time I had to drive off. I'm like, I fucking hope that they weren't harassing that woman and she didn't go to jail when she was just trying to fucking catch a nap while waiting on the fucking bus. But yeah, I ended up going back by there and she was there.
But yeah,
really but it's just like the whole time I was worried that they were gonna fucking fuck with this woman for no reason because they were clearly bored that day. But
yeah, that's, I mean, to what Sam said, I mean, that's why, you see police apprehending or even talking to someone, and you can record that shit because you don't know when you could be the next one to uncover police brutality, police misconduct, or just outright fucking murder.
Right.
That they would, that otherwise without that video can push their entire narrative and it all gets swept under the rug. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap us up for episode 20 of Apostates on the Fringe. I want to thank you all for joining us this week. As always, you can get links to the articles, and I highly encourage you to check out the Knox News article regarding KPD, and you can find that on apostatepod.com. Please consider sharing out the show every week you can and leaving us a 5-star review, and we will see you all next week.
Rest in power, Deona Marie.
Film cops.
Fuck KPD.
Thank you all very much.
Apostates on the Fringe. views and opinions of the hosts of Apostates on the Fringe do not represent the views and opinions of the Atheist Society of Knoxville. For links to all our musical contributors, go to apostatepod.com and check the About Us page. A big thank you to Michael Scott Arden, who allows the show to use his full catalog.